husband who seemed genuinely happy to share his life with her. He helped with household chores without being asked, remembered important dates and anniversaries, and continued to support Claire's career ambitions, even though they were now living together and didn't see each other at work as often. Derek and Dupe established a comfortable relationship as housemates, with Derek showing appropriate respect for Dupe's role in Claire's life, and Dupe gradually warming up to Derek's consistent kindness and consideration. Derek often asked Dupe about Claire's childhood and family history, seeming genuinely interested in understanding his wife's background and the experiences that had shaped her personality. But it was during these seemingly innocent conversations that Dupe first began to notice something troubling about Derek's questions. He was particularly interested in learning about Chief Lawson's business activities, Claire's relationship with her father, and the family's financial situation. When Dupe gave vague or evasive answers, Derek would sometimes circle back to the same topics in different ways, as if he was trying to gather specific information rather than just making casual conversation. Dupe's concerns deepened when she noticed Derek spending increasing amounts of time on his laptop and phone, often in private conversations that he would end abruptly when Claire or Dupe entered the room. He claimed to be working on side projects and business ideas that would help supplement their household income, but he was always vague about the details when Claire asked about his plans. The first major red flag came about 6 months into their marriage, when Claire began worrying about why she hadn't gotten pregnant despite their regular intimate life and her desire to start a family. She'd always assumed that conception would happen naturally once she and Derek were married and ready for children, but month after month passed without any sign of pregnancy. Claire decided to visit a gynecologist for a fertility evaluation, worried that there might be some medical issue preventing her from conceiving. But the doctor's examination revealed that Claire was perfectly healthy and capable of getting pregnant. When the doctor asked about Derek's fertility and their family planning methods, Claire mentioned that Derek handled their birth control arrangements and that she trusted him to stop using protection when they decided to try for children. The doctor's next question changed everything for Claire. She asked whether Claire was certain that Derek had actually stopped using contraceptives, explaining that many men continued using condoms or other methods without their partner's knowledge for various reasons. The suggestion that Derek might be preventing pregnancy while pretending to try for children hit Claire like a physical blow, introducing the first real doubt she'd ever had about her husband's honesty. That evening, Claire decided to search Derek's personal belongings while he was at work, something she'd never done before because she'd always trusted him completely. What she found in his dresser drawer confirmed her worst fears: boxes of condoms and other contraceptive supplies that Derek had been hiding from her while allowing her to believe they were actively trying to conceive. The discovery of Derek's contraceptive deception was devastating for Claire, not just because it meant he'd been lying to her about something so important, but because it suggested that his entire approach to their marriage might be based on manipulation rather than genuine partnership. She realized that Derek had been making unilateral decisions about their future while allowing her to believe they were making those decisions together. When Claire confronted Derek about the contraceptives that evening, his reaction was everything she'd feared it would be. Instead of apologizing or explaining his reasoning, Derek became defensive and angry, accusing Claire of violating his privacy by searching through his belongings. He claimed that he'd only been trying to delay pregnancy until they were more financially secure, but his explanation felt hollow and calculated rather than genuinely concerned. Derek's response to being caught in a lie revealed a side of his personality that Claire had never seen before. The charm and consideration that had characterized their entire relationship disappeared, replaced by cold anger and manipulative arguments designed to make Claire feel guilty for questioning his behavior. He suggested that Claire was being paranoid and controlling, that successful marriages required trust rather than constant surveillance. But Claire's faith in Derek had been fundamentally shaken by his deception about contraception, and she began paying closer attention to other aspects of his behavior that she'd previously dismissed or ignored. She noticed that he often deflected direct questions about his activities, that he seemed to have a lot of unexplained income for someone with his stated salary, and that he received frequent phone calls from people he claimed were business contacts but never introduced to Claire. Dupe, who had witnessed Derek's angry reaction to Claire's discovery, finally felt comfortable sharing her own concerns about Derek's behavior. She told Claire about Derek's persistent questions regarding the family's finances, his suspicious phone conversations, and her growing feeling that he was researching the Lawson family rather than simply trying to understand his wife's background. The conversation with Dupe opened Claire's eyes to the possibility that Derek's entire relationship with her might have been calculated from the beginning. She began to wonder whether Derek had somehow discovered her true identity and had pursued her specifically because of her family's wealth. The thought that her marriage might be based on financial manipulation rather than genuine love was almost too painful for Claire to consider, but the evidence was becoming harder to ignore. Claire decided to investigate Derek's background more thoroughly, using resources that her wealthy family had access to but that Derek wouldn't expect her to know about. What she discovered would completely destroy her faith in the man she'd married and reveal the true extent of his deception and betrayal. The private investigator that Claire hired through her father's security team uncovered information about Derek that made her physically sick to her stomach. Derek Okoya wasn't the humble, hardworking man from Ibadan that he claimed to be during their entire relationship. Instead, he was part of a sophisticated network of con artists who specialized in targeting wealthy women by researching their backgrounds, infiltrating their social circles, and building fake relationships designed to gain access to their family fortunes. The investigators' report revealed that Derek's real name was Derek Adekunle, and he'd been using false identity documents for over 5 years while running various fraudulent schemes across Nigeria and neighboring countries. His supposed middle-class family background was completely fabricated, created using fake documents and coached family members who were also part of his criminal network. Even his university credentials were forged, though he was intelligent enough to convincingly play the role of an educated professional. What made Claire's blood run cold was learning that Derek had been researching her family for months before their first meeting at Lawson Industries. He'd somehow discovered that Chief Lawson had a daughter working anonymously within the company, and he'd specifically requested a transfer to the marketing department to position himself for an engineered introduction to Claire. Their entire romance, from their first conversation to his carefully planned proposal, had been an elaborate performance designed to gain access to the Lawson family fortune. The investigator had also uncovered evidence that Derek was involved in a cryptocurrency investment scheme that was designed to defraud wealthy individuals and families. He'd been using his position at Lawson Industries to identify potential victims, gathering information about employees' financial situations and family connections that he could exploit for his criminal activities. Several families in Lagos had already lost significant amounts of money to Derek's fake investment opportunities, though none of them had yet realized that their trusted financial advisor was actually a sophisticated con artist. But the most devastating revelation in the investigator's report was about Derek's personal life outside of his marriage to Claire. He was having an ongoing affair with his cousin, Funmi Adekunle, a woman who worked as his partner in the various criminal schemes they operated together. Funmi had recently started working at Lawson Industries in the Human Resources Department, hired based on Derek's recommendation and fake references that made her appear qualified for the position. The affair between Derek and Funmi wasn't just personal but also professional, as they worked together to identify and exploit potential victims within the company. Funmi's role was to access employee records and financial information that Derek could use to target wealthy individuals or those with connections to influential families. Their relationship was both romantic and criminal, bound together by shared greed and a complete lack of moral boundaries. Claire read through the investigator's report multiple times, unable to fully process the extent of Derek's deception and betrayal. Every memory of their relationship was now tainted by the knowledge that Derek had been performing rather than genuinely caring for her. His romantic gestures, his supportive words, his apparent love for her personality and character had all been calculated moves in a long-term plan to steal from her family. The realization that Derek had been sleeping with another woman throughout their marriage while preventing Claire from getting pregnant added another layer of humiliation and pain to her discovery. She understood now that Derek had never intended their marriage to be permanent or genuine. His plan had probably been to maintain the relationship just long enough to gain access to her family's wealth, then disappear with whatever money he could steal, leaving Claire devastated and financially ruined. Dupe's reaction to learning about Derek's true identity was a mixture of fury and vindication. She'd known from the beginning that something wasn't right about Derek, but even her suspicious nature hadn't prepared her for the extent of his deception. She blamed herself for not pushing harder when her instincts had warned her that Derek was too perfect, too charming, and too interested in information that had nothing to do with being Claire's husband. Chief Lawson's response to the investigator's report was swift and decisive. As soon as he learned about Derek's criminal activities and the threat they posed to his family and business, he began working with law enforcement and his own security team to build a case that would ensure Derek faced serious legal consequences for his actions. But Chief Lawson also understood that simply having Derek arrested wouldn't be enough to protect Claire from the emotional devastation of learning that her entire marriage had been a lie. The plan that Chief Lawson, Claire, and Duke developed together was designed to expose Derek's crimes while also giving Claire the opportunity to confront him with evidence of his deception before he was arrested. They wanted Derek to understand that his victims weren't helpless, that the family he tried to defraud was powerful enough to destroy him completely if they chose to do so. Claire's first step was to secretly gather evidence of Derek's criminal activities from within their own home. She installed hidden cameras and recording devices that would capture Derek's phone conversations with his criminal associates, his meetings with potential victims, and his intimate conversations with Funmi when she visited their house. The technology was provided by her father's security team and was virtually undetectable, allowing Claire to document Derek's crimes without him suspecting that he was being monitored. The evidence that Claire collected over the following weeks was more damaging than even the private investigator's report had suggested. Derek's conversations with his criminal network revealed that he'd been planning to steal millions of dollars from the Lawson family business through fraudulent investment schemes and embezzlement. He'd been gradually gaining access to company financial systems through his position and his relationship with Claire, planning to transfer large amounts of money to offshore accounts before disappearing permanently. Derek's conversations with Funmi were particularly painful for Claire to hear, as they revealed the depth of his contempt for Claire and his amusement at how easily he'd manipulated her emotions. He referred to Claire as the Mark, and joked about how naive she was to believe that someone like him could genuinely love someone like her. He talked about Claire's personality flaws and physical appearance in cruel, degrading terms that made it clear he'd never felt any real affection for her. The recordings also revealed that Derek had been telling Funmi details about Claire's intimate life, sharing private moments and personal insecurities that Claire had confided in him as her husband. He'd been treating their marriage like a joke, something to be endured temporarily, while he executed his plan to steal from her family. His complete lack of respect for Claire as a human being was evident in every conversation Claire was forced to listen to. But the evidence Claire gathered also provided her with the information she needed to understand the full scope of Derek's criminal network and the other families they targeted. She learned about elderly couples who'd lost their retirement savings to Derek's fake investment schemes, young professionals who'd been convinced to transfer money for supposed business opportunities that didn't exist, and several women who'd been romantically manipulated the same way Claire had been. Claire's growing understanding of Derek's crimes helped her move beyond the personal pain of his betrayal to focus on the broader implications of his actions. She realized that exposing Derek wasn't just about getting justice for herself, but about protecting other potential victims from falling into the same trap. Her wealth and family connections gave her resources that Derek's other victims didn't have, making her uniquely positioned to bring down his entire criminal operation. The plan for confronting Derek required careful timing and coordination with law enforcement to ensure that he and his associates would be arrested before they could destroy evidence or flee the country. Claire would need to maintain her normal behavior around Derek while secretly preparing for the moment when she would reveal everything she'd learned about his true identity and criminal activities. The most difficult part of the waiting period was pretending to be a loving wife while knowing that Derek was actively working to destroy her family and steal their wealth. Claire had to continue sleeping in the same bed as Derek, sharing meals with him, and listening to his lies about his daily activities while secretly recording every conversation and documenting every suspicious behavior. Derek seemed completely unaware that Claire had discovered his deception, continuing to play the role of devoted husband while simultaneously planning her family's financial ruin. His confidence in his ability to manipulate Claire made him careless about hiding his criminal activities, providing Claire with even more evidence of his guilt as he became increasingly brazen about his schemes. The breaking point came when Claire discovered that Derek was planning to execute his final theft within the next week, transferring a massive amount of money from Lawson Industries accounts to his offshore network before disappearing permanently. He'd been telling FunMe that he was ready to abandon Claire and their fake marriage